International hockey is pretty fun, especially when you have a team that sent a lot of good players to this tournament. Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, presented by Bet365. We got Big E and Rudo coming to you live. Canada beats Sweden 4-3 in overtime yesterday. We'll talk all about that game, but there is one thing I wanted to get to first, E. Look, I don't want to say anything is for certain when it comes to NHL scheduling because they promised things and failed to come through with them before. But Bettman and the NHL did announce the game plan for the next 8 or so years is to alternate Olympics and then 2 years later have a World Cup of Hockey. They didn't really get into the details, but calling it the World Cup of Hockey instead of 4 nations implies to me that it'll probably be more than just 4 teams, possibly more than just NHLers. It certainly is exciting to me, but I'm curious if you have thoughts on, do you think the World Cup of Hockey could become a premier tournament?
Absolutely. I think, like you said, I'm going by what you just talked about. He did say 8 teams were going to be 8 nations, eight countries, whatever you want to call them, are going to be part of it. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, but but I do believe if he's saying it, he's going to go through with it. And I think that obviously the World Cup being, when was the last World Cup? 2000. God, I don't remember what it was.
16?
Was it 16? 16, yeah. Or I'll go back to the 96 one, which was sick after the Avs won the cup, right? Team USA won. So it was awesome. You should look at, highlights from that series. Oh my God. I was talking to someone yesterday. They were like, holy cow. I'm like, yeah, they were playing for real. And even so yesterday, I thought, again, we'll get to that, but I do believe that the World Cup every other year and then Olympics, obviously, not every other year. World Cup and what do you call that? Olympics going 2 years. You know what I mean? So it's good for the players. Players like it. You saw it yesterday. They like to be on international grounds, but they're playing for their countries, and they like it. They've missed it, been gone for so long. You hear the word best on best because, it is best on best when it's done this way, meaning the league is on pause and everyone, that is healthy gets to go and gets picked to go, gets chosen to represent the country, go and show their skills. So I like the fact that they're going to go 8 teams for the World Cup. And I think this was just a springboard to get them to the Olympics next year. But again, we'll talk about it. But I mean, if you go by one game, wow. I mean, I would say mission accomplished on just with the start of it yesterday. We'll see what the rest is going to bring us. But as you know, I was very skeptic, so to speak, this summer. I was like, is it going to feel like a world championship that we see at the end of every year, which you and I absolutely hate? It certainly didn't feel like it for me. You know what I mean? It certainly, because the best players were there, World championships, you don't have the best players. You have the eliminated players of the National Hockey League. And usually if you're one of the greats, you usually decline because you don't want to go to World Championships. So it's more like young guys. And so that's why I don't put any stock into World Championships. But I thought last night was a sick start to what they're trying to accomplish here, like you said, every couple of years or so now with the World Cup, Olympics, World Cup, Olympics. And it's great for the players. As we know, their careers are not that long, and if you have a chance to represent your country, it's great. So Players Association will always welcome those types of deals. Absolutely. Because the players want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I do hope it doesn't become a world championship type thing where players start trying to avoid it and this, that, and the other thing. Now, obviously, it happening in season probably helps with that. You're not at the end of the year where people are ready to take their break or whatever it is. But yeah, I do think it will certainly be better than the Four Nations, I believe. Not that, like, again, we'll talk about the game. It was awesome, cool. But getting to 8 teams, whether it ends up being Team Europe or whatever the teams actually end up being, I do think you get a good bit more talent and people get a bit more excited because you pretty much should be able to get everyone at the very top into a tournament like that. You know, obviously there are overarching factors of global events and whatnot that could change that, but you should be able to get just about all the top players in with an 8-team tournament. So I think it could be really fun. Obviously, going back to the Olympics in itself is huge as well. If the NHL commits to consistently going back to the Olympics, that's I don't know that there's anything that helped grow the NHL more than players going to the Olympics in the 2000s and early 2010s. So,
and that's why they said to probably expect some European games, you know what I mean, in those World Cups, you know what I mean? So some over there, some over here, you know what I mean? Go back and forth. Obviously, you're probably going to have to go like New York and whatever, the closest, you know what I mean, like in Europe and whatever. I'm not the most well-traveled European dude, but you know what I mean? You make those flights not so bad there, and then all of a sudden you can part one's there, part two is over here. I do believe they're gonna, get to it. They did say it wasn't gonna be Team Europe and it wasn't gonna be the Team Young Guns anymore. That's something of the past, and that was just one thing they did. But they did say that it would go, up to 8. I'm assuming that's because that's what they're going to do. And yeah, looking forward to that. I mean, I think it's great. Like I said, as a manager, you always hold your breath for the 10 days that it's happening, because as we saw last night with Shea Theodore, you know what I mean? We'll talk about that. But on the other hand, the players want to be there. I remember Joe Sakic wanted to be there. You want Connor McDavid right now being so excited that it's really kind of his first time, right? Doing it. Look how Nathan MacKinnon was. They're all giddy around Sidney Crosby. You know what I mean? Like it's awesome. You know what I mean? And I think that, I think it was important that they do it. And somebody was talking about it earlier, like why not in the summer? Again, I've always said that, why not in the summer? But I was told that, probably not going to happen. Not summer, but right before camp start, like when camp starts. Yeah. They're saying no, because all of a sudden it makes the summer shorter for a lot of guys, and the PA wants it to be, in season, you know what I mean, with a break, and how they've done it and condensed the schedule a little bit on both sides of the tournament, and go from there. So it sounds like it's always going to be, again, Olympics are always going to be mid-season, obviously, but it sounds like World Cup will be the same.
My other thought, and this just crossed my mind when you said, you know what, they're going to play some of these games in Europe over the years when it comes to the World Cup. We have seen the NHL try to more consistently travel to Europe for head-to-head matchups or things like that. At what point do we consider the NHL trying to become part of something like the Champions Hockey League or something like that? Obviously, it's a little bit harder if you would have to travel to Europe multiple times, but we're talking about this best on best hockey from a country perspective. Europe also regularly has the champions of every league play against each other in that type of Champions Hockey League. Do you think the NHL would have any interest in something like that?
Yeah, again, I'm not too familiar with, like you said, the Champions League. You're assuming like soccer. You're talking about, like, is that what that is, or hockey?
There's a hockey.
No, yeah,
Champions
yeah. No, but I mean, isn't it more? What I'm trying to say is, in Europe, like with soccer, isn't there like all the top? You know what I mean? Like teams kind of get involved in that tourney. That's what I'm saying. I'm not familiar with soccer, so I don't know why I even got to soccer, but
I mean the schedule's way lighter. I mean? Like the NHL or the Hockey Champions League, they don't play very many games. It's just like the winners of every league around Europe and maybe the second and third place teams too, and they play like a couple of games, and it's closer to a tournament format than it is like an actual league, to be honest. But
I don't know if the NHL will get down to that, but because of
logistics, I get it would be hard, but I do think it would be interesting. Just that I think it's pretty well agreed upon that the NHL is the best league in the world when it comes to hockey.
Yeah,
I'd like to see how those teams match up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I don't think they would match up, but you know, again, that's not biased. I think that's just the reality of it. Uh, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, it's kind of, it sounds like at least it sounds like the talks are going well. You know what I mean, between the PA and the league. So that's good. You know what I mean? It sounds like there's not. We will shoot each other. You know what I mean? Like it's a little. I've seen it badly over the years. Sometimes, you know, where I feels like this one is. It's pretty civil right now. So
yeah,
we're just good.
It seems good. It seems like it's the best place it's been in a good long while. So I'm excited for it. Okay. You brought it up, so let's just jump into that conversation. Shea Theodore gets hurt in game one. And like, I think we both really enjoyed the game. The Theodore thing is just an unfortunate thing. If we're honest, most of that game, the physicality was not that pumped up. There were a couple of hits here, a couple of hits there. Darling hit McDavid at one point. But nobody was getting launched into the boards or anything crazy. So it did look like the players were trying to protect themselves a little bit. Is Theodore just the unfortunate reality of any time you suit up, bad things can happen?
It's bad luck. Yeah, there was some good body contacts. There was. I mean, I looked at the highlights afterwards. I was like, man, I didn't even see that really during the game. But there was a lot more than I thought was going to be. But the Theodore one, it's bad luck. I mean, it's just, you know, those things happen all game long. You know what I mean? And then he just probably caught his wrist. Or it sounds like it's his wrist. That's what they're saying, you know.
Looked like it, yeah.
Looked like it. Definitely out for the tournament. I see people talking about it like, so obviously you cannot, Sanheim's going to take his spot now. So you cannot add another guy unless you get down to 5D. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're getting down to 5D, then you're able to, in a nutshell, you're able to be around Montreal or Boston area, but you're not allowed to skate with the team and, you know what I mean, like, and be with the team. But if they go down to 5, they're allowed to call player X up, you know, I mean, whoever that is. So it sounds like each teams have people lurking around the area, you know what I mean? Like stand by, you know what I mean? Like don't go to Cabo, you know what I mean? Like you might be, you know, and some guys are like, okay, yeah, no problem. I'd love to. And then they're probably skating on their own and, you know what I mean, just to make sure that in case they get the call. So, but you technically cannot call them. But what they were trying to do, and that's what they were saying earlier today, that what they were trying to do is maybe change, for example, the rules now that, okay, that guy that's the extra guy that was lurking around now becomes the 7th guy. You should be able to let him practice with the team, you know. And as of earlier, it was no, you know what I mean? So, again, we'll see if that changes. So, you know, that's, you know.
Yeah, I mean, what I read was that they weren't allowed to even add a guy until you get to the elimination bracket. So this group play stuff, you couldn't bring in a guy. But, of course, now that there's an injury, they were saying, well, we're not going to make a team play with 5 defensemen or something crazy. So it does feel like it's a little up in the air what exactly will happen with that.
Yeah, I think it's as they go, you know what I mean? And, again, now on top of it, Theodore's lost for the Vegas Golden Knights, which stinks, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we were talking about earlier. That's the thing with those tournaments. There's always someone that gets hurt, you know what I mean? It's just the way and the nature of the beast. It's always been that way, always will be that way. And if you don't get hurt, then sometimes you get something nagging, afterwards and, drags with you the rest of the year. And, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I get it. I get it why players want to participate on best. And again, I thought last night was a great start. And, I thought it was great.
We'll get more into the game in just a little bit here. But first, I do have to pay a few bills here. So let's get to that. We are, of course, brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Live Well. You can go to your Live Well, 25 different locations here in Colorado. So there's going to be one near you. And no matter where you go, all Live Well wants to do is make cannabis available to everyone. So make sure you're getting in with Live Well and, doing that. Living well. When you go to any one of their locations or when you order online, you can use code DNVR25 in store to get 25% off any one regular priced item. So that's a great deal right there at Live Well. When you go in, their professional staff will help you out no matter what. If you're a veteran, you can just go pick out what you want. If you're a rookie, they'll guide you to the right product, whatever it might be, topicals, flour, vapes, you name it. They've got it all at Live Well. So go check them out. Again, use that DNVR25 code in store at Live Well to get 25% off one regular priced item. And you can also order online at livewell.com. It's LIVWELL.com to get your order ready for pickup and make sure you're living well. Once you're all good there, make sure you also got some sweet sunglasses. You know, maybe you want to hide those red eyes. Maybe you want to not go blind in the sun. Maybe you're like me and have to stare into bright lights all day and need to protect your eyeballs. I don't know what it is. Do it with Shady Rays. And when you go over to shadyrays.com and use code DNVR, you can get 35% off any pair of polarized sunglasses available from them. So it's a great deal to jump on. They have hundreds of different styles of sunglasses, different polarization colors, you name it. They've got it. They've even got goggles for skiers and snowboarders or any sport you need. I get like paintballing, you use goggles too. So plenty of options there. Shady Rays also even has sunglasses with vision correction. So even if you need actual glasses, they've got you hooked up at Shady Rays. Over 300,000 people have rated them 5 stars over the years. So join all of those people. And the coolest part is when you do get a pair of Shady Rays, you get 30 days. Whether you don't like them, you break them, or you lose them, in the first 30 days, Shady Rays will replace them completely for free. So you might as well try them out. Head on over to shadyrays.com today, get them checked out, and get yourself your new pair of sunglasses. Again, that's shadyrays.com today. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. A couple of other specific things I wanted to get into. Chat was talking about it. Cale Makar, Devon Toews played 28 minutes in that game. I know you want to win. I know they're representing Canada. That's a lot of ice time, man. That's not a very restful break for those guys.
How many in OT though? What'd they get? Like 3 maybe? You know,
Makar
probably
played
half.
A lot,
you know,
for sure. Yeah.
So that would have been like 25 on a tie game. You know, I mean, I know it's a lot. I thought it was fun though. That it shows you, right, that extra few minutes in OT, someone's going to score. You know what I mean? Like I know they did yesterday, but I would say 90% of the time teams would score. You wouldn't see a lot of shootouts. But it's funny because MacKinnon said he was gassed, and you know, and that's where all the more whatever. I'm not gonna say morons, but
we'll talk
all the
about
people
it,
around.
yeah.
Oh yeah. It started a conversation. You know, but whatever. I thought the guys gave it their all, and you can tell for some guys it's hard to play. Did you look at the bottom minutes? What was it, 8? Was it 8? Like, you know, like Jarvis. I think it was like 8 or God, it was late.
I can check. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard for some guys, you know. And then they connected for a goal there. Nice play there, Jarvis and Marchand, and you know,
about 10.
But it was, yeah. I mean, it's hard for those guys sometimes. You go down to 10 minutes. It's like. But it's cool. I mean, it was good hockey. Both teams, not a lot of space out there. There wasn't a lot of, you know, I don't know how to say, like bad hockey. You know what I mean? Like it was good defensive hockey, good offensive hockey. I mean, they were trying. It's hard. There's not a lot of space out there. Hey, again, an all-star game, it's 15-12, and you know it is what it is, and it's stupid, and it's 2-on-0s after 2-on-0s. This was not that. By any means. So
I do think Sweden was a little rough in the first couple periods. Sweden looked a little bit rough, but
I thought they were absolutely atrocious on the start.
Yeah.
I thought they were awful. First period, at least they were. There's no other word. They were atrocious. I mean, I don't know if they weren't ready or what they were doing, or it's just too long of a pregame ceremony, or I don't know. That goes for both teams, but you know, Canada, the crowd behind them, and you know, I mean, it's a little bit different. And you know, where Sweden, it was more like it looked like they fell asleep, and they were awful. I mean, they were like. Then all of a sudden, you're like, man, they're pretty good. And it's funny how John Cooper used that line after the game, the line that we use all the time. There's 2 teams out there. He goes, we expected a push, and that's some pretty good players on the other side. So, you know, I expected a push, and they gave us a push. And you know, at the end of the day, like, shots were, 20-20? It was 3-3. And it's not like scoring chances were, like, 20-20. You know what I mean? Like, high danger. You know, yeah. It was tight. And, you know, I think guys I mean, I saw some guys back check there that, yikes, during the year, they don't back check much, you know what I mean? Like during their season, you know what I mean? And then they were back checking,
Yep.
so yeah, I liked it. I think it's only the start, and then should be exciting tonight, obviously, with US and Finland. Again, I do think Finland is by far the least, expected to win team. How's that? You know,
Nah,
you
they're
got to
better than
play the
Sweden.
games, but oh, really? Okay, all right. We'll
I
see. We'll see tonight.
I mean, I do think it was interesting. The question surrounding Canada was goaltending. I don't know that that game gave you a ton of confidence in Bennington. If you're
Oof.
Team Canada, you're up 3-1 in the third period. Certainly, that second goal, not great. So,
Yeah, I mean, he made some good saves in overtime. I think both goalies were fun in overtime. They made some good saves. Gustafsson made a lot of saves, actually. Um, yeah, I mean, he's not my favorite anyway, so it's not like, but it certainly wasn't a display of goaltending. You know what I mean? Like where, oh my God, like let's cut this clips. You know what I mean? Like this is what goaltending is. I
yep.
thought it was average at best. You know what I mean? So I'll leave it that for that.
We'll leave it there on that one. Look, there's a few conversations pertaining to the Avs that I want to have here. Number one, and this is not surprising, but actually getting to watch Nathan MacKinnon and Sidney Crosby play together, pretty enticing. Not gonna lie, we all know it's not gonna happen in reality, but boy, to see it at a tournament like this, does it not pique your interest? Of like, wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be fun if Nathan MacKinnon and Sidney Crosby were both on the Avs?
I mean, yeah, exactly. And how funny was that? Like Twitter world yesterday after the first goal, you know what I mean? It was like, oh
Yep.
God, all Avs fans were like, here it is, make it happen. And then the world, that maybe not Avs fans, but they're like, are you serious? McKinnon from Crosby and McDavid, been waiting forever, you know what I mean, for that.
Yep.
And it was kind of cool. Like it was I thought it was a cool Twitter or whatever you want to call that, social media experience last night where, everybody was popping off, and it sounded like the atmosphere was unreal over there. And yeah, to answer what you were asking, Crosby seemed very excited to play with those younger guys. You know what I mean? Like the McDavids, and you got to remember, Crosby's 37. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So you're playing with guys in their 20s. You know what I mean? And that's exciting for you. You know what I mean? It's exciting for the younger guys. I think Wayne touched on that on TNT yesterday. But yeah, he's right. Crosby's just as excited to play with them too. You know what I mean? And you can tell that it's funny. They went out on practice this morning, the optional, and then Crosby, MacKinnon, they're doing exactly what Nate does in family sports every morning when he goes out there on an optional skate, you know what I mean, where they stand on both sides of the net there, and it's funny, you know what I mean. So, I think greatness follows greatness, and then, I think that it would be special. Is it going to happen? I don't think so. But it would be unreal to see Sidney Crosby. As you know, he's one of my all-time favorites. So to be on the Avalanche, that would be sick. I just don't think that it's going to happen, obviously. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, me either. But watching it, maybe someday you could convince them to do it in the NHL. Who's to
Yeah.
say? And on to MacKinnon then. Obviously, he scores the first goal of the Four Nations. Super cool. That one is he's literally standing still on the power play and gets a ridiculous pass. Not a very difficult play for him to make, but he does score the goal. Throughout the rest of the game, though, third most time on ice for Canada forwards at just shy of 20 minutes. Only McDavid and Marner played more. Um, 6 shots on goal, led the game in shots on goal. Honestly, I loved what he looked like. I know the big, was he playing too much hero puck or whatever in overtime? I don't really care about that. I really like the version of Nathan MacKinnon that challenges the defenders and tries to go hard to the middle of the ice and get shots off. So, in my opinion, no, I don't think that's a problem at all. I think that's the best version of Nathan MacKinnon you can get.
Well, here's what I'll say. Whatever you're saying that on the internet there, I mean, first of all, like, really? You know what I mean? Like, really, he's a puck hog. Yeah, he leads the league in assists. You know what I mean? Like, the math doesn't work. Look no further than one of the most selfless, players ever, Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if you were live. I was watching the pregame show on TNT there, and they were asking him about, hey, what was the best power play you ever been on? He's like, oh, it was like Mess, me, and Coffee, Bork, and whoever on the back end, and I don't remember who else he was talking about, but probably Goo. Goo was what was on there too. Mike Bossy, and then all of a sudden, Gretzky said, the only problem with that, I mean, I thought he was going to say, well, there's only one puck out there, which is true because those guys are used to having the puck, right? He said, no. He said, leave it to that guy Makar. Leave it to that guy to quarterback it back there, and he'll figure it out. But he goes, those guys are so selfless that you don't want this to turn into all of a sudden you don't want to shoot, you just want to pass the puck. You know what I mean? Because you kind of respect each other too much. You know what I mean? And you're scared to be like, oh, he's going to shoot the puck. So that was brought up. Guys, on the power play, or especially 3-on-3 hockey, what's the worst thing you can do 3-on-3 hockey? Overpass it. And we all know that. Then all of a sudden it's gone the other way, and then it's a 2-on-1, the puck's in your net. So, and again, or my pet peeve, you shoot wide, right? Puck's in your net. But the way MacKinnon shot the puck there, I had no problem with that. We all know what he can do as a passer. The lanes were there every time he did it. And if he did it, he was trying to, see what it was. Looked off like, was it McDavid one time? And then, and again, the D played it pretty good. I don't remember, was it Dahlin or it was somebody that played it pretty good, or I don't remember who he was on.
Can't remember
Swedish,
the D-man, yeah.
On the Swedish team, yeah, D-man. But he plays it perfectly. And then it's like, what do you want to do, force it? Then it looks into a bad play, and then people are like, are you serious? Shoot the puck where you were. You know what I mean? And I think that's what Wayne was trying to say at the start during the pregame. It was more like, hey, never pass up a good shot. You know what I mean? Like, when it's there, it's there. I mean, again, not if you're going down, you're shooting from the corner. Yeah, I got no problem. Nate, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, pass the puck. You know what I mean? What are you trying to do? You know what I mean? Like a little U8 hockey player that's trying to get a goal because his grandma gives him $5 if he scores, right? You know what I mean? So this is not it. You know what I mean? That was not it. I have no problem with that, and the narrative that came out that, he doesn't. I was just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, this is kind of dumb, but, you got to come up with something dumb, I guess. But for me, it was he led the league in scoring. Last year, he's leading the league in scoring. This year, he must make the right decisions, usually. So it sure sounded like he made the right one. He just didn't score there. You know what I mean? So
I mean, look, and not from the tournament necessarily, but speaking from the Colorado Avalanche standpoint, that's the version of Nathan MacKinnon that you need.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you need the guy that shoots like crazy, the guy that creates opportunities for himself. And honestly, one, Canada won the game, so who cares? Two, is that not unbelievably impressive that he's able to do that at the best on best Four Nations caliber level, to weave through defensemen and cut to the middle and do those types of things? Is that not proof of just how good a player Nathan MacKinnon is?
Absolutely. I mean, he was the guy that was, people are like, oh, he wanted to be the guy, to finish it. Really? Well, why wouldn't you want to be the guy? I mean, what are you talking about? They all want to be the guy. I can tell you that. You don't think Mitch Marner wanted to be the guy? Absolutely. They're all gamers. They're all guys that are leading their teams, and they all want to be the guy. You know what I mean? McDavid wanted to be the guy, and it just happened that, Nathan made, stuff happen with his speed, and next thing you know, the lane's open, and then he got a chance, and he win. You know what I mean? And that's the guy you notice the most in overtime, besides obviously the winner from Marner. He just didn't connect and score. But you can't fault him for trying. I thought he played a great 3-on-3 period. I thought he was more than fine. We've seen him play some bad ones. You and I know that. We all know that here at Avs Nation. Sometimes it's not pretty on the 3-on-3, if he doesn't have the puck and he's stuck in his own end. And so I have no problem with that. So I thought it was more than, I thought it was vintage Mac, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I love it too. Mac had 6 shots on goal. Canada only had 28 total shots in this game. So they needed somebody to step up and shoot the puck. Nathan MacKinnon did it. Obviously, he wasn't able to finish in overtime, but created multiple great chances. And it was fun. A couple other things to talk about, but first we got to take another break here. So let's hit that really quick, as we are brought to you by the folks over at Game Time. Go get your tickets with Game Time. Join over 15 million people that get their tickets with the Game Time app. You can also use their Game Time Picks feature, where you search for tickets and they filter out everything but the best tickets for the best price. You'll get the tickets you want, and you'll get it at the price you want when it comes to Game Time, and you can even get a better price. When you sign up with Game Time with code DNVR, you'll get $20 off your first purchase with them. Plus, it doesn't even have to be sports. You can get to pretty much any sporting event in the country with Game Time. But you can also get to the theater. You can get to concerts. You can get to movies. You name it. Game Time has tickets covered wherever you're trying to go when it comes to their Game Time Picks feature. So jump in with Game Time. Again, be sure to use that DNVR code to get $20 off your first purchase. And if you find tickets somewhere else, Game Time guarantees you the best price on tickets. They'll reimburse your account 110% of that ticket price. Jump on, download that Game Time app, link down in the description today. What time is it? It's game time, baby. Once you've got your tickets, make sure you're also enjoying life. Make sure you're choosing chill. That Canada-Sweden game turned out pretty exciting, but that means doesn't mean you can't chill at the same time. And that comes with ice-cold Coors Light. The mountains turn blue on the bottle or the can to let you know it's ice cold and ready to drink. That's how it literally lets you know to chill. You can go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR today to get it delivered right to your front door thanks to Instacart. Do that. Let them know we sent you over there as DNVR. Of course, you can also get it in your local liquor stores or whatever it might be. But Coors Light is the beer for any occasion. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's freezing out and you're watching international caliber hockey, or, if it's a warm day in the winter and you want to have a little grill out outside while the weather's good. Either way, Coors Light is the beer for the moment. So make sure you're enjoying Coors Light with those Blue Mountains today. Again, CoorsLight.com/DNVR to get it delivered right to your front door. Of course, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Please drink responsibly. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. And in saying that, we are an Avalanche podcast. Beyond the 28 minutes, what did you think of Cale Makar and Devon Toews in this first game, E? Cale had a couple of highlight caliber passes. Toews did a lot of net crashing, both literally and figuratively. I thought it was interesting from those two.
Yeah, he almost scored there. He got robbed there by Gustafsson.
Yeah.
I think this is his first time, playing for Team Canada, correct? I don't think he ever played World Juniors, guy. It was kind of a late bloomer, Quinnipiac. I'll tell you one thing. He comes from far away, and then I thought he looked great. I mean, I thought that pair was great. Again, you're not going to give up much. You're going to control the game. I thought they were superb with their, obviously, connectivity together, because that's what they do. They play together all the time, and it's been years. And they certainly were the Canada's best pair, in my book. Of course, it went down to 5Ds pretty early, and, then you're kind of having a ham sandwich and playing with everybody that's thrown, into the mix, and, makes the difference. But whenever those two are together, I thought they were great. Hence a little bit where the ice time was a little bit higher than usual, of course, with the longer overtime. But, again, you go down to 5Ds, some people are going to get their ice time. Who was the lowest on the back end? Was it Drew?
Theodore.
Yeah, but besides, he got hurt. Yeah,
everyone. Yeah, it was Doughty, but he played 19 minutes because of the injury.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say. So it's probably 20 minutes. Yeah, so you go down to 5Ds early like that. It is what it is. But I liked the Avalanche presence. I felt Cale was great. I thought Cale was. People respect him. Even the best of the best around the world are respecting his ability. When they see him get the puck, they get scared, and a little bit like Mac, when he crashes through the neutral zone. But when you're on the defensive side of the puck and you're on in, and Cale is the puck, like you better be on your game. You know what I mean? And those are the best of the best in the world. And some guys were, they were pretty, scared, and you could tell, and they were like, they were not too sure what was going to happen. And I thought Cale was great, and then I thought. I'm a Devon Toews fan, as we know, and we all are, and I thought he certainly belongs. And when we say that he's one of the top in the National Hockey League on the back end there, he's not as flashy as Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes or Adam Fox or whatever, but boy, is he reliable, and he certainly belongs at the top of the NHL when you're talking about, is it top 10 D? Maybe. I mean, I would put him in there.
I mean, I'm sure you could pick on any given day, right? But certainly Toews, especially when you're talking about a two-way effective guy, he's definitely up near the top of the list and is fully capable of producing too. Has 50-point seasons here in Colorado, so good to see a guy like that get some burn at an international event, and people might be finding out just how good he actually is. So, go ahead.
No, I was gonna answer Andrew there. Let's say ham sandwich is the single guy's meal. Like, he just woke up from a nap, he opened the fridge and don't know what to eat, and you just take some bread, take some ham that's in the fridge, some mayo, cheese, make a ham sandwich, just a little bit of, throw it together, whatever's in front of you. You know what I mean? And that's the expression. And, just a little bit all over the place. And some people put pickles in there, some people put mustard, whatever it is, just throw it in there and whatever suits you need at that time.
Yep.
It's just a little bit of wait and see,
Yeah, it's thrown together for sure. You just threw a bunch of stuff on a sandwich. You got stuff falling out of it. That's how I've always thought about that.
Yeah.
Metaphor, whatever you want to call it, for sure. When you do look at some of the numbers from this game, I mean, I don't know. It's really hard for me to take anything significant out of the numbers in a game where you watch overtime and it's, okay, they threw out Crosby and MacKinnon together. Oh, okay, their next shift is McDavid and MacKinnon together. It's almost silly in some ways to take too much out of the numbers out of a tournament like this. Obviously, Crosby gets player of the game with 3 assists and whatnot. That doesn't mean nothing, but I just wouldn't read too much into the actual details of a hockey game where you have this much talent all smashed together, because you're going to do things that you won't normally see in an NHL game. I'll put it to you that way.
Well, yeah, but again, it's like which Canada Cup was that? 87? The Mario and Wayne, that's 87, right? All of a sudden they were just like, yeah, let's put them together. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then all of a sudden one was like, I don't care, I'll play the wing. And then next thing you know, they were dominant together. You know what I mean? I think it's a question of feel. I think it's a question of, some people were complaining on the internet about Cooper and his Tampa guys. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Cirelli and Point, and I don't know if you saw that play, but Point's a pretty good friggin' player. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, and then, Cirelli and Hagel, like, they did this and did that. I thought Hagel had some giddy up. He wanted some intensity and some. I thought whenever he was out there, the pace was up, and it is what it is, and you're not getting the most minutes, but it was funny to get to see. But again, there's got to be some sort of being comfortable with the guys you're throwing out there as well. And of course, you're going to go to old reliable. It's a little bit like on a Navs game when Jared goes back to Kiwi. You know what I mean? And because sure. It's just familiarity and it's trust, and you know what I mean. So I think that's what you saw a little bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Konechny's of the world, and they still got their shifts and their stuff. And I thought everybody worked hard, and I thought everybody looked good. Nobody was dogging it. Marchand was certainly flying. I mean, he looked like the Marchand from the old days, and he just wanted to do something, and you know what I mean, and be involved. And I thought the emotions was there, and I thought the emotion lifted Team Canada with the crowd, and I thought the crowd really came out swinging, with Mario there at the start of the game, and it certainly was very loud. Talked to a couple of people that were there. They were saying it was absolutely electric. You know what I mean? And I remember as a kid, because I used to go to all those Canada Cup games, and those, it was fun. It was so awesome. You know what I mean? And this was a very similar atmosphere yesterday. You know what I mean, that you saw. And I think the players, McDavid was very vocal about it, saying like, hey, listen, we all want to win. We all want to, no, this is not an all-star game. And I hope that this proved it. It's not an all-star game. This is we're playing for real. So I certainly believe it.
Kind of an interesting question here, especially when you look at players like Cale Makar, who has only played for one coach his entire career, has only really known one NHL system. When you get into a tournament like this, when you're playing alongside some of the best players in the world, when you get to play under a new coach and someone like John Cooper. Is this a learning experience? Can the Avs take things from this tournament when they get back to Colorado and say, hey, I want to try to do this thing, or I want to make this adjustment in my play going through the rest of the season to try and be more impactful for the Avs?
For sure. I think you learn. Sorry, my earbud was. You were asking about. Repeat the question again. Like for some reason, I got cut off like halfway through.
So for someone like Cale Makar especially, but even someone like
Yeah.
Nathan MacKinnon's only really had 2 head coaches in his career. Is this a learning experience for these guys playing with some of the other best players in the world that maybe play the game a little bit differently than they do, and playing under John Cooper as a different head coach that maybe has a little bit different style than what they're used to? Can they take those things and apply it to their game through the rest of this season?
Great point. Great point, because that's where relationships are built too. And when I say relationships is sometimes, like you said, you'll learn from the best. You know what I mean? Because you'll learn just by walking back to the hotel with them about like, hey, how do you handle this or this or that? And then that's how we handle it. Tying your skates up and Cooper walks by again. They're used to Jared Bednar. You know, I mean, that's what they know, right? I mean, pretty much. Obviously, Nate had Patty for a bit, but I'm talking about Cale and pretty much the rest of the team. I mean, I would go down to Bedsy, right? Well, I mean, obviously Gabe, but I mean, I don't remember who's left from Patty, but
Not many, yeah.
Not many, yeah. You know what I mean? And it's important for those guys to see and to learn from how people react and how they are. And sometimes it makes you realize, not to bash anyone, but it makes you realize like, oh yeah, our coach is pretty good too, right? Because sometimes you forget, right? Because you're so used to the same people. Hey, our coach is pretty cool about this too. And then how does your coach handle this? Oh, our coach does this. I'm talking about from player to player. You know what I mean? Hey, how do you handle this if you're got an issue with a player and then, your coach is in love with that player? How do you deal with it? That's how those guys learn. They learn from one another. And back then it was the Canada Cups and then the Olympics and all that kind of stuff where their interactions were there. I'm not saying you have to become best friends, but you certainly develop a relationship. Look no further than, for example, Rick Tocchet and Wayne Gretzky. That's exactly how their friendly relationship started. It's from the Canada Cup in '87. You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you become friends, and then you work together when you're done playing and all that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, you're in the broadcast booth and TNT, and then obviously talks back in Vancouver now. But I'm saying that's kind of relationships grow. You know what I mean? Yeah, MacKinnon and Crosby, they're from the same hometown, and yeah, there's that connection there, but for a lot of people there is none of that connection, and there's an age gap. They didn't play together when they were little. They didn't play against each other too. One's in the West, one's in the East, so it's kind of fun. I think any guys, when they go to the All-Star game, they come back, they don't care about the All-Star game, but they come back, they were excited that they got to rub elbows with Sidney Crosby or Nathan MacKinnon or Cale Makar, or you know what I mean. And I think that's what's important. I think that's what makes the league a little unique. And where all of a sudden guys respect one another. They want to know more about their craft. You know what I mean? Especially like we talked about that yesterday about the summer training, and you know what I mean. Oh yeah, maybe you should come with us. This is what we do in the summer. We use that guy. We go to Vail, and oh yeah, I've seen you guys go there. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it goes, right? You know what I mean? And
Yep.
When you don't have those interactions, then those things don't exist. So I do believe that you learn from the best, and I do believe that you rub off on others when you are the best, and it's infectious. And I think there's no better person than to back up what I'm saying than Sidney Crosby. And I think you saw it yesterday. And I think he's just a man. And I think the way he presents himself and the way he deals with stuff and then you can tell as everybody's in awe of him. And, forget about his play. I'm talking about the way he carries himself.
Fair enough. It's 2 conversations there. One, Randy in the chat talking about, look at the payroll for each of these teams. I'm pretty sure Canada's starting 5 would be like 60% of the salary cap. So it would be an astronomical number for sure for Canada. Theirs would be, U.S. might come close, but certainly compared to Sweden and Finland, theirs is going to be way, way, way higher when it comes to that. The other question I wanted to get into, and this is one we maybe should have got into before the tournament started, but I didn't really think about it until now. Did Connor Bedard get snubbed off of this roster?
Remember when it happened when they announced the rosters? Like
Yeah.
some people were talking about that, right? But remember, he
Yep.
was struggling at the time, right?
Yeah, he was.
He was not on his best, and then some people were saying, "Well, they should have instead of again." God, I can't believe I'm going to use those names. You know what I mean? But the Hagels or Konechny's or you know what I mean of the world, and for me, those are great players. I'd have them on my team, and I think 32 people, GMs would have them on their teams. That's not what I'm saying, but you know, this is some sort of a sometimes you have to have a little bit of difference types of archetypes, you know, or players or whatever you want to call that, you know what I mean? And they felt that those players suited that mold a little bit better. And if Connor was light in the league at the time, I'm sure he would have probably made it. And I think by not being on top of his game at that time, I think it gave them a reason not to take him. I mean, again, if you go back and do you take Macklin Celebrini? I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, you're talking about a two-way game, and I don't know if you. And again, he was injured at the start, and you know all
Yeah.
that stuff. So I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but then again, next year, like, who knows how this is going to go? And then I don't know. Do you overlook those guys? You know, Bedard, Celebrini? Like, I don't know.
All right.
And that's
Let me ask you this: you choosing. Let's say Canada has an injury to their forward core and they need to bring in another guy. Scheifele is the name that's been out there for a while. Would you bring
yeah.
in Scheifele or would you bring in Bedard or Celebrini?
Exactly. That's a fair question. Looking at the lineup yesterday, you're like, you know what? Maybe I would just bring in some. And again, not because Scheifele is an excellent player. That's you know, but I'm not taking him. You know what I mean? So I'm no disrespect to him. For me, I take Macklin. You know what I mean? I'm being honest because I'm
All
so
right.
like, you know, like you're talking about youthful enthusiasm, and if you and he's a center, and if you got to go out there and just play 7-8 minutes, you know, he would give you those. I mean, again, he's not used to that. College hockey, he's playing 30 minutes a night. Now with the Sharks, he's playing what 20 something minutes a night. But I do believe mentally, you're like you want to do so well, and you want to do your auditions so good because of the Olympics coming up and World Cup of hockey every other year, whatever it is, right? With 2 years Olympics, World Cup. Now you want to get on the radar of Team Canada, and you know, yeah, I mean, I would go. That's the guy I would go with. Again, I'm biased, so to speak, a little bit, but I do believe, and I do love the player. I do believe that he's going to be just an absolute menace the rest of his career in the National Hockey League. So I think he's there now. I think he's at that level now. So yeah, I mean, some people are saying Wyatt Johnson or whatever guys like that. Like for me, Macklin Celebrini is above those guys
I'm
today.
uh, I'm I'm gonna throw a name out there that people aren't gonna like in our chat.
Kivi. Oh no, he's from Finland. Kidding.
I think there's a pretty reasonable argument that Team Canada should have brought Matt Duchene.
Well, they were saying that. You know, there was, yeah, again, they were saying, obviously, with Jim Nill being one of the GMs of the team and the GM in Dallas, and, you know, they're saying that he was, you know, but I do think they're thinking more like, I think they've always thought about the future when they do those things. You know what I mean? So where can we bring in those guys? Where can we mold those guys a little bit and get them a little bit of experience? You know, and that's where I think for me, that's why instead of Maddie or those guys, I would take Macklin. You know what I mean? Because of that. You know what I mean? Like because of he's young and for years to come. You know, this is going to be my, you know,
I
my
I don't disagree with what you're saying. With knowing Team Canada, they also tend to like their guys, and Duchene does
yeah.
have a good bit of experience. Been to a ton of World Championships. He's even worn an A at World Championships for Team Canada. Went to an Olympics with them. Was part of Team Canada for the last World Cup, and is scoring at a point per game this year. I
Yeah.
I get it. Like kind of same conversation where does Team Canada really need another scorer? I get it. You're maybe looking for more of a two-way type of guy. And maybe that's why you end up bringing someone like a Konechny or a Hagel at the bottom of this lineup. Um, I don't know. I mean, Konechny's not that defensively strong, but whatever. It it's interesting to see who makes it and who doesn't in any given year to these teams, and how much of that is merit and how much of that might be politics behind the scenes?
That's a little bit of everything. That's life, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
sometimes it's like, again, it's familiarity too. You know what I mean? Like we talked about Cooper, knowing his guys, knowing and
Yeah, of
winning
course.
with his guys. And, that's very normal. Back then it was Oilers, right? It was Glenn Sather and, having all the Oiler guys on Canada Cups. And then it made the Islander guys mad. And, because the rivalry. And then I don't play because I don't play for the Oilers. And, so it kind of, they had to have the meeting, after a few games to say like, hey, okay, let's stop all this. You know what I mean? Let's come together as one. You know what I mean? And I don't think this is the thing right now, but I'm saying that it's very normal to have familiarity and tendencies to go towards your own players. I think that's very normal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, let's transition a little bit to tonight because it is USA versus Finland tonight. It's
Yep.
we
That's
were
your
pretty.
team, Finland.
It is my team. We were pretty confident in Canada to get the job done, and that ended up being a barn burner, very close game. Are you expecting the same tonight out of USA and Finland, or do you think this one might be a little more decisive?
God, yesterday I what did I say yesterday? I said 3-1 Canada. Well, it was looking good for a bit, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like, they got back in the game. And then you say 4-3? Didn't you say, like,
I did.
I thought you said,
No, I think I said 5-3. So
or something like that.
Yeah.
More goals than I thought. I really thought it was going to be on the under. Now, with tonight, I'm more of a Finland is so smart. They're so smart, those players, and I think that if you hear everywhere right now, oh, this is the best that the U.S. has ever done. This is the best that the U.S. has ever put together. This is their dream team. And again, I don't disagree. I do believe this is a fantastic team put together. I think they're goaltending it absolutely out of this world. But I again, you got to play the game. No one's going to lay down and die. And again, Finland's not my favorite because of the lack of talent, so to speak. But they all know how to play. So I'm going to go like Randy's saying. I'm going to go 3-1 U.S. I'm sticking to my call from yesterday about Canada. I do believe it's going to be a little tighter than we think. Watch this. It's going to be 9-0 after 2 periods. But who knows? You never know. They got firepower, right? The U.S. So we'll see. But I do believe I'm going 3-1, maybe an empty netter, U.S. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to watch, just like I was last night. As it got closer, I was excited, looking at the watch and saying, "Okay, what time? Okay, we got another hour," and you know what I mean. I was excited, so I'm looking forward to it. How about you?
Easy 3-0 Finland with an Arturi Lehkonen hat trick. All right.
Woof! Woof! That is awesome. Yeah. Give me the horn.
Look, realistically, if Finland is going to win, they're going to have to play similar to the way Sweden played, right? It's going to have to be really tight. They can't give the U.S. anything. Your goaltending is going to need to perform. They need to play a sludge game, essentially, which in some ways is easier, right? Finland consistently can find ways to play a simple hockey game that doesn't require maybe the chemistry that a team like U.S. might need to put these fancy plays together. And given the fact that, these teams have practiced, twice together, 3 times together, maybe. So
yeah,
I do think Finland might have the advantage of playing a simple game that can function in a tournament setting. With that said, you're also just going to need some help. The U.S. is definitely a more talented team. On an individual level, they have more skill. So you might need a baller performance in net, or you might need to get a little bit lucky, be extra disciplined, take advantage of power play opportunities, things like that. I just think Finland's a fun story. That's why I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, and again, every point matters. I mean, that extra point yesterday that they lost is Canada lost. That's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. It might come and haunt them. You don't know. I don't know how this is going to shape up, but I'm excited for it. I do think tonight that USA's come a long way. You know what I mean? Like, and I can tell you, in those, I understand 1980 Miracle on Ice. That was a great story and everything. But I can tell you in those mid like 87, 84 Canada Cups, US was not very good. You know what I mean? Like they were not very good. I remember going to those games and it was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, you know what I mean? They weren't very deep. Now you're talking about a deep nation. You know what I mean? Like, again, that starts with the NTDP program and,
Yep.
obviously with the USA Hockey, the youth, the grassroots. And, they've done a wonderful job, and look at World Juniors. Now you got back-to-back champs. I mean, this is kind of where it goes. And I think if you're looking at this Four Nations team, the Kachucks and, the Matthews and the Eichel, and, they're all part of that team. And, so to speak. And then they were pillars of what, what it is today, you know what I mean? And I think that they're going to be, tough to beat. I think they are going in there as the favorites. I mean, if you talk to a lot of people are taking Canada or US. Again, it certainly wasn't that way back then. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react to that pressure a little bit of having to, perform and really show that they do belong there, like you said. And again, I think the Finland's looking simple there because they just sit back and they have no pressure. You know what I mean? Like they're not supposed to be as good as those teams. So once you go out there and play spoilers, you know what I mean? And I think that Sweden almost did it yesterday. I mean, they're one shot away from winning. So I don't think they're going to walk over the U.S. And again, you don't think so either with the 3-0 take, but I don't think that they're going to walk over like people think, and that it's going to be like a 15-0 game. I just don't see that.
No, I don't see that either. You got some of the best players in the world all converging on Montreal. Where's the spot? Where's everybody getting dinner tonight?
Boy, oh boy, I mean, again, as you know, like it's been a while. I don't live there anymore, but on the road, that was one of our favorites all the time. You know what I mean? Like to go out as a team, and it's always a fun night, like to go to dinner there because every restaurant is kind of cool. And I saw a tweet there. Team USA was somewhere last night, and apparently I don't remember where, but that's apparently one of the good spots. And I'm still like an old school Gibby's, where you go to steakhouse there on Crescent Street, and it's Crescent Street's so fun, especially if you're an American or English speaking person. Like everybody kind of speaks English there. It's not Quebec City. I mean, Quebec City, everybody speaks French, and Montreal, everybody will speak both pretty much when you're downtown. Not in the suburbs. I'm from the suburbs, so didn't speak English, but you learn it somewhere, somehow, at some point. But there's so many great places there. I think the food's fantastic. Not only like the fast food, the hot dogs and the poutines, and that is just to die for. But the high end restaurants are awesome and they're fun, and everybody dresses up nice to go to dinner, and it's one of those like European flair cities a little bit. So I think the guys are really enjoying being there. And again, Armia is taking everybody from Finland because he plays in Montreal, so he's telling them that he's bringing everybody where to go, and obviously in Canada, Team Canada, I don't know who's in charge of all that stuff, but somebody is, and then each team has got a guy that's like been around the league, and they know where to go, and kind of fun city to go and do all that.
All right. Well, I will be doing a watch along for that game. I don't know. Are you around? You want to join me for that, or are you just you busy?
Which one? Tonight?
Well, I'm watching along tonight.
Yeah, I'll jump in. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go. So you can watch with me and E if you need somebody to watch the games with. We do have one super chat to get to before we get out of here. $5 from Melanie that says, thanks for all the content. You guys rock. Thank you very much, Melanie. We appreciate that. Always so kind in the chat. It'll be interesting. Randy wanted to know the name of one of those restaurants. You said Gibby's was the steak place,
Gibby's.
right?
Yeah, Gibby's Steakhouse on Crescent Street, Randy. Gibby's. I mean, you can't go wrong. It's been around forever. Gibby's, Gibbys, Gibby's, Crescent Street.
There you go. You got to brush up on your French, though.
No, they'll speak English there for sure.
I know. You all speak English. You guys are talented, multilingual people, unlike us.
Smart. Just smart.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but...
All right, that's true.
You are hockey players after all, so you can only be so smart if you're doing that. We are out of here for today, though. We appreciate all y'all hanging out. Join us for the watch along if you want. We'll be back tomorrow with a Friday show. Should be a fun one. I'm sure we'll break down the game too. So thank you for watching. This has been the DNVR Avalanche postgame show presented by Bet365, and we'll see you on the next one.
We all silly like the mayor.